What is going on? A beautiful Tuesday that kind of feels like a Monday because of Labor Day. This is episode 24 of Locker Talk Live. I'm joined today by with Josh Cook, Matt Malatesta, and Shano Welliford here to talk everything Texas high school sports. There we go. We got Josh. Let's put this on. We got Josh there with the guns up. Texas Tech getting the win this past Saturday over Houston. Of course, my Texas Longhorns getting the win over Louisiana Lafayette. And then Matt, what happened? What happened to LSU? Go ahead, let us know. What about that Sissy Blue? What happened with that?
Look, people, we're dealing with an emergency of epic proportions and a hurricane, evacuation. They had to practice all week in Houston. They finally got up there, but it wasn't good. I think UCLA's good.
Yes, they don't they return. I think it's 11 starters on defense. And they're all seniors or something like that, or something crazy like that. So yeah, UCLA definitely better than years past. But yeah, LSU
It wasn't good.
Didn't look good week one. So yeah, so let's go ahead and put a pause on the college talk for now at least, and let's talk about stuff that is important, and that is Texas high school football. Of course, week 2 this past Friday. Now, just from my first glance, of course, I'm not the Houston expert, which is why I'll turn it over to you guys. But I didn't really see anything too surprising this week when it came to scores. I mean, maybe the Woodlands underperforming, maybe some expectations a little bit. They still won, but not by as much as maybe people would have thought. But let's jump it over to you guys, Matt and Josh, real quick. Were there some surprises I didn't see out there?
Well, I mean, I think you had a great game between Ridge Point and Dickinson. I think Ridge Point is real. They're a real contender in Region 3 to get out of this area. They really had a great season last year. And then, I think they're built on that. They got a great quarterback at Bert Emanuel Jr., but what a heck of a game against Dickinson. And Shanna, what the heck? Atascocita knocks off Allen. Josh called it. I didn't believe it. Am I a believer? Maybe I am.
I mean, Thursday I said that, it would be a tough game for Allen with that new quarterback.
Matt's and here's the thing. Matt is always dogging Atascocita. I'm always telling him, man, Matt, Atascocita's gonna be good. He's like, nah. And then what they go up there and they end a 122 home game winning streak. They hand Allen its first loss in Allen Eagle Stadium. They're now 54-1 there. And here's the thing too, it wasn't just a fluke win. Atascocita came out there and won by double digits over Allen. Big Bad Allen. Gavin Session passes for 300 yards, rushes for another 117, 417 total yards of offense out of him. And here's the thing, Matt. Craig Stump is a quarterback whisperer here in the city of Houston. He has somehow figured it out how to have quarterbacks in his system for 2 years. And this is year 2 of Gavin Session in his system. And we know how good year 2s can be. You put Davion Boyd of Atascocita on the cover of VYPE a few years ago when they made that deep run to the state semifinals and played Lake Travis. That was year 2 of Davion Boyd, who went on to play in the college level. And now this is year 2 of Gavin Session with Cam Dewberry, the 5-star offensive lineman, all the wide receiver talent that they have. The defense seems to be playing good. The question is going to be now, you go beat Allen, once again in district play, can they beat a North Shore? Can they beat a Beaumont Westbrook? Can they beat a very talented, a rising CE King team? A very good Summer Creek team has come out of the gates as well in 21-6A. But a huge win by Atascocita to go on the road and beat Allen at their place.
Only 3 teams lost in our top 20 in Class 6A. Tomball Memorial got it handed to them by Beaumont Westbrook. Klein Oak also got it handed to them by Spring. Spring looks the part. They're really impressive. But I got a stat for y'all. Are you ready?
All right.
Bring it on.
The Dobie Longhorns, who are going to move up, but the Dobie Longhorns are probably in our top 12. They had outscored opponents 125-0. And they haven't played terrible opponents. They played A-Leaf Taylor, and then they played LaPorte. And those two teams, LaPorte is like a big-time ship channel battle. 125-0.
That's not good for the other teams. It's not good.
Bad, not bad.
I'm not. And here's the thing. A-Leaf Taylor, I think now is 0-2 on the year. Do we start pushing the panic button a little bit in A-Leaf Taylor? Because on paper they're supposed to be decent with the track speed that they had coming back. I mean, Tyler King is a wide receiver committed to Texas Tech, and they lose to Angleton 49-41 this past week, which Angleton's going to break into our top 10 in Class 5A at 2-0 on the year with a nice 8-point win over them. But it's interesting. It's interesting. But you mentioned teams as well. I mean, Fort Bend Marshall just looks the part, Matt. I mean, Jacoby Banks looks the part. Chris Marshall looks the part. They're going to go into district, which no one's really going to challenge them in district play. Let's just be honest. It's going to be get them to the playoffs, get them healthy to the playoffs. I mean, Banks and Marshall, they're not going to see the second half of games in district play. But yeah, and Peyto Panthers, they look the part too. I mean, they unleashed on Morton Ranch last week, 43-14.
Morton Ranch.
Just saying.
I don't care about no Morton Ranch. You
Joshua?
put Morton Ranch on your pizza? I don't know. They ain't firing me up.
I'm not putting Morton Ranch on the pizza. I'm just saying they beat Morton Ranch. I'm saying they're 2-0 and they beat Morton Ranch. And then Manville last week, they beat Crosby by 14. So Crosby's 0-2 on the year, but those losses are to Carthage and to Manville. So,
I'm feeling Crosby. There's some great games also this week. Bridgeland, the Woodlands. I know I've talked about this. I'm getting roasted out here in the Woodlands, but I think Bridgeland is going to put
54.
50-ish on the Woodlands. Can the Highlanders keep up with that track meet? I'm telling you what, man. I've done a feature on endangered species, the dinosaurs, the blockbusters, the flip phone, the 5-star athlete. Thing of a past. We are blessed to be watching Connor Wigman right now because in the future, we ain't seeing him. Insane.
Look, Josh, I want to circle back to Atascocita real quick. I mean, they are off to this hot start. They have Denton Geyer in 2 weeks, which will be a great matchup. Denton Geyer just beat Denton Ryan, a little, ISD rivalry right there. And as we all know, second to last game of the season, they play North Shore. The last few years, obviously, Atascocita has kind of been there, but not being able to give over the hump. Could this kind of hot start, could this be that chance for them to get over the hump, or is Allen just too early in the season with that quarterback, whereas they were able to take advantage of that, and when it comes time for the North Shores and, fourth, fifth round of the playoffs, it's going to kind of be the same old. What are we looking at here? I know you're the expert on this, Josh, because, you are the Atascocita hype man by all accounts.
Yes, he is.
Hey, here's the problem with the Atascocita schedule is that they're going to catch North Shore at the end of the season. That's going to be the problem. You catch North Shore early with the offense still trying to figure some things out, maybe, but North Shore's defense is too good. Matt knows this. I mean, you got Kent Battle. Denver Harris isn't even playing right now. They got Jacoby, I can't remember his last name, in the secondary. I mean, their defense is so good at North Shore. They get Westfield this week, which is going to be a big test for that North Shore offense. Westfield hasn't allowed more than 12 points this season. Atascocita is really good. I think this is a big win just from a standpoint that no one had ever done it to beat Allen at their place. I think that's where the big win comes from because of the streak and all that stuff. Now you have to see, okay, can Atascocita go beat Den Geyer? Okay, becomes a little bit more real. And then what does that North Shore game look like? I still think at the end of the day, that's still the game for the district championship is North Shore and Atascocita at the end of the season.
But Josh Dub,
yes.
What's going on in Dallas? Euless
Yeah,
is 1-1.
What is going on
Allen's
in Dallas?
1-1. Duncanville's 1-1. I mean, who's the best team in Dallas outside of Southlake.
Yeah, Shayna, let's turn this over to you. Obviously, our Dallas chief, chief managing editor. I'm sorry. Dallas kind of has struggled to start the season. I mean, Southlake Carroll was a comeback away from being 1-1. I think they are going to be, spoilers. They will be our top team this week in the 5A, 6A rankings. Denton Guyer seems to be kind of really one of the only ones that they're sitting at 2-0 and sitting kind of pretty at 2-0. Everyone else seems to have struggled a little bit. Highland Park is almost 0-2. They Flower Mound was almost they were winning, and Highland Park scored in the last minute of the game to take that game. So Shayna, what is going on with DFW there?
Denton Ryan, DeSoto, Shanna, what is up?
I really thought that Denton Ryan could pull it off against Denton Guyer, but Denton Guyer, snapped that streak for Ryan, and I think a lot of people kind of expected that, to see that from Guyer to come out strong. They are 2-0 right now, so I would say they're at the top, and we're forgetting Lovejoy. Lovejoy is posting some pretty strong wins. Mind you, this week it was against Sulphur Springs. Not that much of a big deal, but then you have to look at Duncanville. Duncanville's first loss, come on, that's the matter day. Like, we can't fault them on that one. Allen was a shock, but again, young quarterback. I think we're going to see a lot of rebuilding, and we're going to see how they bounce back next week, this week.
Now, of course, we do have. I want to bring in. I got to talk about. I guess I'm the kind of the Austin San Antonio guru, if you will. We don't really have a managing editor in this area, but I do kind of pay attention to it to most. I gotta say, look, early on, and Westlake has really kind of set themselves up pretty by kind of facing some tougher competition the first few weeks to kind of. I think their defense is what I've said from the beginning is going to be their biggest challenge heading into the season. It looks like their offense is kind of where it's at, and their defense has really shown up. And to get ready for the playoffs, they're playing some quality opponents early. Matt, I'm gonna turn this over to you. Obviously, it's gonna come down to who wins district and Division I, Division II. As of right now, as things kind of stand, are we on a collision course for another maybe state semis or even finals matchup between Westlake and either Acadia or North Shore again?
I mean, it's looking that way. Westlake, I mean, if it's me right now, I think Westlake is the odds-on favorite to win the big school state championship. I mean, they're really good. Quarterback's back. They're just really good. Could it be North Shore? I think it could be, but I'm not ruling out some of these other teams from this Region 3 area. I think North Shore could be somewhat not exposed, but I think, I'm not saying it's North Shore or nobody coming out of this area. I just think that
it's going to be on their defense this year is what it seems like.
And don't sleep on Judson. I think Judson is a team to watch out for out of that area as well. I think they're pretty good too.
Yeah, and they didn't
you know who you're forgetting about?
Who's that?
You're forgetting about? How are you forgetting about Lake Travis? Travis just smacked Judson. Just took them behind the woodshed last week. They got Bo Edmondson at quarterback. They got the wide receiver going to Ohio State that moved over. I mean, here's the thing. I get that Westlake. Yeah, Westlake's got Clay Klubnik. He's going to Clemson. They won state last year. Here's the thing, though. Westlake had to replace a lot on that defensive side of the ball. A lot. I mean, that was a defense that was like 2018 North Shore defense right there, and probably even better than that. And I mean, we're talking about crowning Westlake here in week 2. Lake Travis is going to have something to say about that because, they know that all the talk is about Westlake and everything like that. But I think watch out for Lake Travis and what Hank Carter has done, puts on the field over there. I mean, Lake Travis is like QBU, and I guess we'll find out on November 5th, right? Because they play in the same district.
That's going to be an incredible game.
Sign me up for that game. I might actually. You know what? That's November. Okay, wait. That's November 5th. That's the day before hunting season opens, and I usually go out to the Fredericksburg area. I might just have to swing out that way and catch Lake Travis, Westlake that Friday night before opening day.
What
Book
is
it.
See, it works out
what
perfectly.
is what is good about that, and I'm glad you brought up Lake Travis. That was on my to talk about list. Is that they did take that, they had a whole month off before playoffs last year before getting bounced in the first round by Round Rock. And because of that, they didn't play Westlake last year, so we don't know what that team, And as me and Josh both said, that defense is going to be, that's the biggest question mark all season for Westlake, is can the defense hold up all year like it did last year? They got a lot of parts to replace. Now I forget his name. I think he's the coach in waiting, by the way, when Dodge retires after the season. But he's a really good coach. He's their defensive head coach, defensive coordinator, I guess you'd call him. That's the game to watch in Austin this year. I mean, I already had it circled on my calendar. You now have it circled on your calendar. It's going to be the game to watch because I think it's going to determine a lot of things. Heck, I mean, really, if Westlake loses that game, they could potentially go D1 or I'm sorry, D2 for playoffs. Or whichever one it is. I'm sorry. Because that's what happened 2 years ago, right? They lost to Lake Travis. And they got the easier route, and that could very well happen again. So very interesting. There's a lot of that game is going to be important for so many reasons.
Could you imagine a Westlake if Katy goes D2 again, which I don't think is going to happen this year. I think Katie's going to go D1. But if Katy goes D2, Westlake goes D2, and it's Katy Westlake for a spot at state.
That's gonna be nice. That's the state championship game right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, you got North Shore, Atascocita. That's coming. That's a two top five teams in the state. Atascocita, North Shore are going to end up playing. You got Bridgeland, Woodlands playing this weekend. Woodlands, Katy next weekend. I mean, what I do love is that teams are playing other really good teams. That's what I really do like in this early season.
Yeah, I feel like, and again, I could be wrong on this, but I feel like that's happening more this year than I've seen in years past. I mean, you look consistently. I mean, Lake Travis played 2 quality opponents 2 weeks ago. Westlake played 2 quality opponents from my area, anyways. I've seen some, Dallas and Houston. I think teams are setting themselves up well because losses don't, and we kind of talked about this in our meeting this morning, but losses don't hurt you so much, especially as a big name program. In non-district, right? And so you want to schedule those tougher opponents because it really lets you see where you are headed into, the district play. I think, who was it? South Oak Cliff in Dallas, they played Duncanville this past week, and the coach said, he was asked, why do you always schedule Duncanville? And he said, it's so we can see where we stand heading into district play. And I think that's important for a lot of teams.
All right, here, I got a segment. You ready?
Let's hear it.
Let's go around the horn. Who are the best 2 players from your area? Like individual players so far this season. Let's start in the Dallas area.
Oof. Okay. I would say that Jackson Arnold isn't that far off as the best. And obviously the first thing that comes to my mind was going to be Quinn Ewers, right? But he's gone. But next up for that, I'm going to have to say maybe Brennan Storr for Highland Park.
What say you, Josh Dubb?
I'm going to throw out the obvious one first, Kate Klebnik. I mean, he's living up to the hype so far at the start of the season. No reason that you can't put him as probably the top player in Austin. And then I'm going to go to another quarterback, and this one may be a little bit of a surprise. A junior quarterback out of Dripping Springs, Austin Novosad, kind of came on last year as a sophomore when their quarterback got hurt. I'm really impressed, and man, he has Dripping Springs rolling right now. They put up 70 against Hayes this past week, so that's someone you need to keep your eye out on. Austin Novosad out of Dripping Springs, only a junior. Let's go Matt first.
For me, I'm going to say the biggest ticket in town right now is Connor Wigman, but number 2 is tough. And I think you could say Bishop Davenport from Spring, barely edging out Chris Marshall from Fort Bend Marshall. He's just kind of the coolest, swaggiest, most athletic player maybe in Houston. Josh?
Oh, my turn. Okay. The first one I'm going to go with is I'm going to go with Harold Perkins. I haven't gotten to see him play, but he plays both ways. He plays offense and defense for Cy Park, which is, I think, scored 60-plus points in back-to-back weeks to open the season. He's unstoppable on offense. He's a ferocious linebacker on defense. He's going to go play linebacker at the next level. I think if there's a guy I want to go see this season play, that's definitely one of them. That Harold Perkins is definitely one of them. And then, I got to see Bishop Davenport last week, and I mean, man, he can just distribute the ball so well. He runs the ball well, runs that offense well. Davenport's definitely one of the top quarterbacks in the city of Houston. I think I agree with you. I think Connor Wigman is the Class A ticket to go see, but Bishop Davenport's right behind him for sure. And then I was trying to find the quarterback down at I was trying to dip into Southeast Texas a little bit. The quarterback at Port Arthur Memorial went ballistic last week. Jamar Sanders had over 600 yards of offense in a blowout win for Port Arthur Memorial over Barbers Hill. So that's an interesting one because Port Arthur Memorial plays in the same district as like Baytown Lee and that crew right there.
Last name, Burt Emanuel Jr. We cannot forget about him. He had a huge game, came up really, really big in their win against Dickinson. This guy could be special. I mean, he hasn't got a ton of offers. But I think he's a guy that's going to explode on the scene late.
Scotty T, our own Scotty T, who couldn't make the show today. He just asked a question on YouTube in our chat. He said, in each region, and we'll start with DFW here. Who's a sleeper team? Who's a team you got your eye on that it's not your Katie's, it's not your North Shores, but could still kind of maybe sneak up and find themselves in the state championship this year if everything kind of goes according to plan. Shayna, who's a sleeper team in DFW?
I would say one of the biggest sleepers that we have is Euless Trinity. They lost against Westlake, but they really held their own, and that's a big team to hold your own against. Other than that, I would say maybe Arlington Martin.
All right, Matt, who you got? Who's a sleeper for you?
I got a sleeper. They're not so much a sleeper, but people just aren't talking about them because everybody else is getting so much juice right now. The Westfield Mustangs have a nasty, nasty defense and a pretty explosive offense with Cardell Williams, the Tulsa committed quarterback. Nobody's talking about Westfield, and that's exactly how they like it.
Josh, who you got as a sleeper?
Yeah, Westfield, to Matt's point, Westfield's always the team that ends up in the third, fourth round of the playoffs, and we're all sitting here looking at each other going, oh, there's Westfield again, by the way, going through the Region 2 route, going through the DFW areas. So you potentially, I think Westfield and Spring played each other in the playoffs last year. Was that right? I feel like they did. They might have. I can't remember. But anywho, yeah, I mean, Westfield is really good. I mean, I try to think down at like, I think a team that I might have sold short here, I'm going to dip into the private school level, is St. Thomas. St. Thomas got a quarterback that moved in, and they just got done beating John Paul II 38-31 this past week. They're 2-0 on the season. St. Thomas's offense has looked really good. It looks like they haven't missed a beat since Maddox Kopp left for the University of Houston. Another private school team, I think Fort Bend Christian Academy is a really good football team. Their test is going to be Second Baptist School at the end of the season. That's going to be the final regular season game. They're going to have to face Second Baptist School, but I think Brady Dever is one of the better private school quarterbacks in the city of Houston. They got all kinds of weapons at wide receiver. Their defense looks good. They lost a lot of pieces off that team last year, and I think that kind of made us think, okay, how good is FPCA going to be? But then they got a slew of transfers to come in before the season started, including a big wide receiver. So I think FPCA is going to cause some problems for some people late down the road.
And Josh is also on the bandwagon of none other than the CE King Panthers. He loves some Panthers. I'm not sure about Panthers, but he loves some Panthers.
Gerald went.
Cy Park's my sleeper 1A. Boom.
So what did they bring back? 21 of 24 starters or something like that? It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
They're gonna be so good. Hey, you know what, CE King? Gerald Wembley's already got 500 yards rushing in 2 games. Just saying. Just saying. Defense is good too.
I got an absolute sleeper for you. And it's because probably no one's really thinking about it, because usually you think sleeper, you're thinking of the 5A, 6A. I'm going down to 2A in Austin, San Antonio. And I'm talking about the Fall City Beavers. They made it to the state semis last year, losing to Mart, who was the state runner-up. And this year they've started out strong. They're 1-1, but the team they lost to was a 3A Poth school who is always kind of in the running to try and get to state. And it was a close game. Last year, Poth blew them out like 50-something to nothing. This year, it was a 17 to I think it ended up being 17 to 14 affair that Poth won in what they call the Polish Bowl. They are about a hop, skip, and a jump away. That's how close these two schools are. They always play each other, and they may not be undefeated right now, but Fall City is a team you need to look out for in the 2A realm for the Austin San Antonio area. And boom, that is it. Any other teams you want to talk about that we should be paying attention to? Any games in your area we should be paying attention to before we close out the show? I'll leave it open to the floor for whoever wants to go.
Clear Falls, I'm not sure they're for real. They're 2-0, talking a lot of smack. I think they've got a pretty tough game this week. I can't remember who they end up playing. So watch out for Clear Falls. Cinco Ranch, amazing. They've been down for a couple of years, like really, really down. They're 2-0. Klein's 2-0. George Ranch is 2-0. Tomball, we kind of loved early on in the season. They're undefeated. So a lot of unblemished teams so far. The best one-loss team, the Dickinson Gainers for sure.
100%.
Yeah, Dickinson is really good. You mentioned the undefeated teams. In 5, you got Fort Marshall's 2-0, Peyto's 2-0, Magnolia West is 2-0. They just beat Temple by 13 points. New Caney's 2-0, Montgomery's 2-0, Lake Creek is 2-0. Baytown Lee is hanging points on people. They're 2-0. Angleton has come out of the darkness. The Purple Rain, they're 2-0. Big games for me this week. Westfield takes on North Shore on Friday night. Katy takes on Dickinson. That is a big game for Dickinson, see if they can get off the mat after Ridge Point. Ridge Point takes on C.E. King. And then my sleeper game of the week, Lake Creek takes on Sealy. The Sealy Tigers, I think this is the biggest test for Lake Creek this season so far. They haven't really played anybody. See if they can slow down Devon Hemiluski.
Shayna, what's the game to watch?
Oh man, I think something, not necessarily the game to watch up here right now, but to watch what's going down with Duncanville. I don't know if they've made a week 3 opponent yet. I think that's an interesting story to follow, but also I think a team to watch is Strawn. Strawn is 2-0, and a couple years ago they won state, and I think we're going to watch them make a really strong push.
Hey, there you go, showing some 1A love. You gotta love that. But Duncanville, if Matt and Josh didn't know, they had Bishop Sycamore on their schedule for week 3, so they quickly took that off after the debacle a few weeks ago. My game to watch, obviously, Lake Travis versus Rockwall. Another big test early on for Lake Travis. They've handled Arlington Martin. They've handled Judson. If they can handle Rockwall, yeah, like you were saying, Josh, look out for Lake Travis this year. And then not one you really need to, this is just fun for me, Pleasanton versus Jourdanton in the San Antonio area. I went to school at Pleasanton. Jourdanton is kind of one of those kind of right there next to them in the county, so a little rivalry that they've kind of renewed over the last couple of years. So that's a big one for me, just because it's kind of you grow up in those kind of rivalry type of situations, a little 4A versus 3A there. So, but the big one, of course, Lake Travis versus Walkwall. That is our show for today, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back on tomorrow. We got 3 shows on 3 shows on deck tomorrow. We got the VYPE podcast coming at you with another great interview from Will Turboff. Everybody listen to it. It's great things. Then at noon, Josh is back with Coach Craig Cranfield for another St. Pius show with Craig Cranfield. And then to round out our Wednesday slate of shows at 6 p.m., it is the Coach's Corner with Coach Williams and Coach McDowell. Coach Williams had a very good no, it was Dennis. Dennis had a very good pickups this past week. And then everyone else kind of had about the same record. So I'm looking forward to seeing what y'all do for this week's pickups, Josh. Until then, this has been our Locker Talk Tuesday show. Have a great one, everyone.
Yeah.